friends, welcome back to the Hooligan Knitter podcast. As always, I am your host and resident hooligan, Sierra, and this is my channel where we talk about all the things that I'm knitting, new yarn, new notions, and anything that kind of goes along that vein. Alright, it's been a hot minute, and I did not intend for it to be a hot minute since my last episode. However, life just kind of got in the way. It's our busy season at work, so it's been using a lot of brain power and energy, and I just didn't have it in me to do this. And then my husband and I went on a much needed vacation to Virginia, of all places. And that was so nice. It was so much fun. We met up with a bunch of my family there, and it was so good to see everyone. But that was another week. And then as soon as we got back, I think it was last Sunday, and we had a couple of days, and then we had to go to a wedding in Milwaukee yesterday. So it's just been kind of like nonstop here. But I had the house to myself for a couple of hours today. I have nothing, pressing that I need to do. I'm a little under the weather, and I thought, it's time for a podcast. It's gonna make me feel better. Maybe it'll make you feel better. I don't know, but we're gonna do it. I am just drinking a V8 energy drink. I actually really like these. Usually I'm a coffee girly, but I just did not have it in me this morning to make coffee. So we are meeting ourselves where we're at. Okay, let's talk about my knitting. I have 3 finished objects. I have 4 whips that I want to talk about. I have some acquisitions I would like to share. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, my first finished object I actually don't have with me anymore. It was the socks for Boop Hat Becca's mom, Lisa. I knit them out of 4 Crow fibers, Donegal DK in the color Glass Bottom Boat. Look at me remembering things. I sort of loosely followed the pattern Spring Trellis Socks by Cindy Hagen, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. The pattern is for top-down fingering weight socks with a heel flap and gusset. That's not my jam. I made DK socks toe up with a fish lips kiss heel, but I used the stitch pattern from the Spring Trellis socks, so that's what I'm calling them. They have not been given to the recipient yet. Boop Hat Becca has them at her house, and she will give them to her mother. So I hope she loves them. Yeah, that's about all I've got to say about those since I don't have them here to show. If you want to see what they looked like, you can watch a previous episode where I talked about them and showed them. I think they turned out pretty well. So I hope they fit her. I hope she loves them. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this one since you have seen it before. Since the last time we chatted, I finished my entire Humlebi shawl. I have not blocked her, mostly because I finished her earlier this week and I wanted to wear her to the wedding yesterday, and I was concerned that she wouldn't dry in time. So here she is in all of her glory. She's big. I mean, if I really hold the tip here, like I cannot stretch it all the way across me. So she's quite the large shawl. And I really, really love this shawl. I am a newly converted shawl person. I don't know. I've usually just been like a scarf or like very narrow shawl person and just wear them like a scarf. But this thing, I love this thing. I have been wearing it. I wore it last night to the wedding, like a traditional shawl, just, you know, around my shoulders for a little bit of warmth. Oh, I should probably talk about what I'm wearing. Okay, we'll circle back. But I've also worn her with the point in the front and then like wrap it around. She's amazing. I really, really genuinely love this shawl. The little bees are so cute. They're just little guys. It's an incredible size. I will say, okay, let's talk about the pattern. Pattern calls for, I believe, DK. I don't believe in following rules, so I knit this out of a worsted, maybe even like light Aran weight yarn. This is Lion Brand. It's part of their Wool Ease collection. This was the Roving base. I believe the color was light heather or heathered gray. Here it is. I'm making another project out of it because I love it so much. But yeah, just a nice roving yarn. Because it's such like a light, lofty yarn, this thing traps warmth like no other. She is toasty and cozy, and despite being 100% wool, she's very soft. It's non-superwash, it hasn't been treated, and it's just, I love this yarn. I would consider making many more things with this base. Hell, I would consider making another one of these shawls because it's just so good. The beginning is a lot. This shawl is worked from like the bottom up. So you cast on close to, I think, 400 stitches, and then you work back and forth and gradually decrease. So that was kind of a lot, and I don't know if it's a me problem or a pattern problem, but I've seen other people mention this, that some of the stitch counts are off for various sections, and I did have that. If you look at this side of the bees, they're a little wonky, they're a little lopsided with the wings there. I mean, it wasn't bad enough for me to rip back and redo them by the time that I noticed. But if you look at the bees on this side, they're a lot more even. So, I don't know, just something to keep in mind if you are planning to make that shawl. Just really pay attention to what you're doing and make sure everything is lining up well. Okay, the next finished object is one that hasn't been seen here before. I knit this while we were on vacation in Virginia. This is the Ryegate hat by, is it Claire Borchardt? Let me look that up before I make a fool of myself here. Bear with me. Ryegate hat by Claire Borchardt. This I knit out of, not Brooklyn Tweed. It was the Fiber Company Lore, I believe, in the color Stable. And yeah, just like a nice, cute little cabled hat pattern. I think this color is beautiful. This pattern I did modify because, again, I can't follow rules, but the pattern calls for mock cables, and I don't know if I'm just an idiot who can't follow written instructions, which, like, obviously I can't, or if, I don't know, the technique that she was describing in the pattern was just not working for me. And I looked up a couple of other ways to do mock cables, and they worked like a little bit better, but honestly, it was way more work than just doing a normal cable. So I frogged back to the ribbing and just did 1x1 cables. And I think it's fine. Here are my decreases, nothing too special. But yeah, this color is really nice. It's like very lightly heathered. But yeah, folded over brim, twice as long for maximum cozy. And I think she's cute. I've worn her a couple of times. She's a little snug on the noggin, so I just have to wear her a few more times for her to really relax and open up. I could block her, but just wearing it is gonna do it, so I'm not gonna bother blocking it. Sue me. Anything else to say about this pattern? What did I knit this on? I knit this on US 5, 3.75 millimeter needles. And I think that was good for this yarn. You know, obviously it's a hat. You want it to be pretty densely knit to keep you warm. Yeah. Good hat, I think. I think it's a good hat. All right, those are all of my finished objects. Only 3, which is a little surprising to me. It's been like a month since my last upload, so I thought for sure I would have had more, but that's okay. I've been doing a lot of knitting. It's just not resulted in a ton of finished projects. Okay, let's talk about the other thing that I'm knitting in this yarn. Again, Lion brand, Woolies Roving, in some light gray color. I'm just freestyling a hat. I guess I could show you like a nicer side without the tail of the yarn. Ooh, don't knock over my drink. Just a hat. Nothing super fancy. I'm knitting this quite a bit larger than I would if it was just for me, because I have a tiny little noggin. So I'm knitting this larger. I don't know that it has like an intended recipient. I just kind of wanted to use up the rest of this yarn, and I think I'm still gonna have plenty left over, so maybe I'll make another hat. But yeah, what am I knitting this on? This is a US 8 or 5 millimeter needle, and I cast on 100 stitches. I did about 4 inches of 1x1 rib and then folded that up for a double brim. Now I'm just doing stockinette in the round. And then when I get to the point of the decreases, which I probably will today, I intend to steal the decreases from the Parkside hat by Layla Raven because I think they're beautiful. I have one here that I can show you. I just think they're nice. Very clean. So I'm gonna do that for this. Again, no intended recipient, but I can't stop making hats. But good neutral piece. I think it'll be very warm because again, this yarn is very warm. It might be a little scratchy for some people next to skin, like on the forehead, or if it was like right up against your neck. But I don't know. They'll get over it, or they won't, and it'll become mine. But yeah, just a hat. Okay. What should we talk about next? Let's talk about, oh, we should talk about what I'm wearing, huh? This is one of the first sweaters I knit. Not the first sweater, but it was within like the first handful of sweaters that I knit. So it's definitely not like my nicest, most polished garment that I've ever made. But I do really like the color. The fabric is soft. This is the Autumn League Pullover by Alexandra Tavel of Two of Wands. And I knit this out of Lion brand remix. I think that's what it is. It has like a bunch of different things in it. I cannot recall the colorway name, but it's a really nice burgundy. I promise not all the garments that I make are varying shades of red, but you know, here we go. It has a really nice like X on the front. Also, I did a terrible job picking up the stitches and sewing down this collar. It's a double folded collar. Didn't know what I was doing there. I did a split hem. Also, I'm wearing pajama pants. Don't look at those. But she's a good sweater. I do like her. I wouldn't mind making another one, actually. The pattern was very nice and clear. The yarn is held up okay. I mean, the sweater is probably like 5 years old, and for a hot minute, it was like a regular in my rotation that I would wear like a couple times a week. So, and I've also never depilled it. So, I mean, there's like a couple of little spots. But I would say it's more so just gotten kind of fuzzy. And I throw this thing in the washer and the dryer, okay? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. This gets laundered like all of my other store-bought things. And it's held up pretty well. Maybe I should start wearing this again. But it's kind of cool to look back on some makes from the early days, because I've learned so much and gotten so much better as a knitter than when I made this. For example, I've learned how to pick up stitches, so that's cool. Yeah, I love the length of the sleeves. The yoke is like or like raglan. I don't know if it's called a yoke, if it's a raglan sweater. The top of the sweater is like a little deeper than I would probably do now for a raglan. Like my armpit is way up here and it comes down pretty far, but I don't know. I should definitely start wearing this again. It's a nice, cozy, easy to wear sweater. I'd recommend it. Okay, let's go back to my whips. Let's see. Okay, socks. I have 2 different sock whips to chat about. The first sock is done. I'm doing the DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry. God, my hair is on everything. And I'm knitting this out of Mondim. Oh, there's the other one. Mondim. I think I showed this on a previous podcast as an acquisition. I don't know the colorway number off the top of my head. I will throw it in the description box if I can find it. But yes, I really, really like the sock pattern. And I've discovered that I really like non-superwash wool for my socks because they're just warmer, they're squishier, they don't wear as well. I will admit that. The no nylon non-superwash socks, they get a little more threadbare a little more quickly than my superwash socks with nylon, but I think it's kind of worth it because they're just so nice. This sock is knit toe up. It has all over 2x2 rib and then a fleagle heel. And then I knit an extra long leg because I like to fold over the cuff for like a double layer for maximum cozy. And I really like how the colors knit up on this. Very nice. Hold on, my husband is calling me. Okay, we're back. We were talking about my socks. First one's done. I have started the second one. I was actually working on it during the wedding reception last night. But we've got the toe done. We've got a couple of inches into the foot. I'm in no rush to get these done. It would be nice to have another pair of cozy woolly socks, but there's no timeline. I'm just enjoying knitting for myself now instead of all of the gift knits that I've been cranking out. So I'm just enjoying some nice, simple ribbed socks for me. Okay. Next whip is another pair of socks that I've just not really been working on. These are the Ariose socks. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm not very good at this. Let's see. Yeah, Ariose socks by Lisa Schmidt. Again, I am just butchering this pattern. It's supposed to be top down. I don't believe in top down socks anymore. So I'm doing them bottom up. These are a buddy knit with Anna from Scanny Legends. We are both knitting these socks. I think she's finished hers already. But I've finished the foot of the first one. I am working on the leg now. I don't think I'm gonna make these very long because they are like a nice lacy sock. And I don't think I need really long lacy socks. I did a fish lips kiss heel as per usual. I think the pattern does call for a short row heel of some kind. Looks like it. That person did a heel flap. Whatever. I'm doing a heel flap. Or, no, I'm not. I'm doing a fish lips kiss heel. This yarn is discontinued, but it was like a Joanne brand sock yarn, 75-25, I believe, in this nice blue color, nice tonal blue. Yeah, the yarn is from Johanna, from Femme Knitted. Bestie, these are Bestie socks. And I think if Anna or I have any of this yarn left, we might make Johanna a pair. But I've already knit one pair of socks out of this. This is the second pair, so it might be up to Anna. But these are pretty. The lace is not too difficult. I think it's a 6 row repeat. So you have to pay attention a little bit, but it's nothing you can't handle, I think. Lace socks. Do I have anything else to say about these? I don't think so. I have not really been working on these just because I haven't had a whole lot of like mental capacity for lace knitting. I'm not much of a lace knitter. If I'm doing some kind of like not stockinette, I like texture and I like a little bit of cables on like a hat. But lace is not something that I typically go for. So again, there's no deadline, no pressure. Just whenever I feel like picking these up, I will do a couple rows and they'll be done when they're done. Then the last whip that I want to talk about is not something that has been seen here before. The yarn, I believe, was shown as an acquisition, maybe. But since we last chatted, I've knit most of a sweater. I cast on the Winter's Pullover by Ozetta, which is a super cozy, oversized turtleneck sweater. I decided to omit the double folded turtleneck collar. I felt like that would be like a lot. And instead I just did the funnel neck. Both sleeves are done. The top of the sweater is done. I'm just working on the body now. Unfortunately, I ran out of yarn. So I need to go on a scavenger hunt to find more of this. The yarn is Holst Garn Cielo in the color Cosmos, which doesn't like to photograph or show up on camera well, but it's a really deep, like true navy blue. It's a little darker than that. Do I have a ball band here for it? I don't think so, but it is, I believe, 42% alpaca, 42% merino, and then the The rest of the yarn is, I think, nylon. So it is a super, super soft, drapey fabric. It's a very lofty yarn, so again, it's going to hold warmth in very well. Here's an end that I haven't woven in yet, but you can see. Just how lofty it is. What else do I have to say? Okay, so I was questioning my gauge and yardage and size when I cast this on. Johanna and I in our group chat were like numbers back and forth, and ease versus like recommended ease versus what I wanted versus like what the pattern called for versus my stitch count, like what size I should make, and my Ryegate. It was a whole thing. So I'm knitting the size 5. My gauge is not nearly as off as I thought it was going to be, because I did use, I don't think I have it out. I knit a hat out of the same yarn, not the white hat that I just showed. I knit a gray hat out of this, and then I used it as my swatch. And the gauge that I was getting for the hat was like pretty off. So I was like, crap, like I just bought a sweater's quantity of this yarn and now my gauge is off like by a lot. Stressed out, maybe I'll knit a different size, but then I'm like really not going to have enough yarn. It was a whole thing. I went up like 2 or 3 needle sizes. 2. I went up 2 needle sizes. I'm knitting this on a US 11, which is an 8mm needle. And my gauge is like pretty good now. I think I'm 1 stitch off, which I'll take because this is a massively oversized sweater. So I'm good with that. But I am, I think, about 3 balls short of yarn. But, you know, it's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. And I do really like this sweater. I thought I was going to be way off on my yarn, but then I omitted the double folded collar, and then I'm pretty sure my sleeves are not as long as they're supposed to be. This looks so stupid. Drop shoulder sleeves always look so stumpy and short and ridiculous, but I promise these are long enough. I swear, you're gonna have to trust me. I have tried this on. So I think I saved a little bit of yardage there, but I'm gonna need some more yarn. So this is on ice until I get a hold of some more Holst. It is out of stock at the yarn shop I typically get my yarn from, so I don't know if I'm gonna wait for it to come back in stock or if I'm just gonna order directly from Holst. Someone I'm in a group chat with, which I should talk about, said that she ordered from Holst and it was not as expensive as she was expecting it to be. So maybe I'll just bite the bullet and order it straight from Holst. Okay, this I'm actually knitting as part of a cal that is hosted by Ashley of Smash Knits and one of her friends. It's called the Opposites Attract cal because I guess she and one of her good knitting friends have completely opposite like color palettes. Ashley tends to knit with a lot of like really bright pinks and greens and blues, and her friend, whose name is Sarah, I believe, tends to work more with like neutrals and earthy tones. So they're hosting a cal called Opposites Attract, and the whole idea of the cal is to knit something. I don't know if it has to be a garment or not. I'm doing a garment, obviously. But the idea is to knit something, maybe a garment, out of a color that is not in your typical wheelhouse of colors. So if you typically are a neutrals, earthy tones girly like myself, knit something like not that. So I typically gravitate towards warm tones and neutrals. So I'm knitting a blue sweater. Granted, it's a pretty dark blue, but I'm not usually a blue person, but it's been really, really fun. People are knitting some really beautiful things in that cow. We have a big group chat going on Instagram, and everyone's been super nice and supportive and encouraging. It's a little overwhelming at times because there's a bunch of people in this group chat, and like it kind of goes off a lot. It's died down a little bit now that we are a couple of weeks into the cow, but for a hot minute there I was like, I'm gonna have to mute this. But it's calmed down. The vibes are good. People are making some really beautiful things, and I just think it's a fun idea to kind of encourage people to step out of their comfort zones. And yeah, this yarn is so squishy and soft. I want all of my garments to be knit out of this yarn. Okay. Those are not all of my whips, but those are all of the whips that I am going to talk about today, because nothing else has really seen a ton of love. My bright red Dear Duomo, I've done a couple of rows on. It's not going to be done for Christmas, and that's fine. It's sitting next to me. It's languishing a little bit. It's fine. Let's talk about some acquisitions. So, like I said, my husband and I were in Virginia for a while, and obviously, as a knitter, what do you do when you travel? You look up the local yarn shops in the area that you're going to, or like along your route. Duh. So I dragged my very kind, supportive husband to Magpie Knits in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I came away with some goodies. First, I will show the non-yarn. I have come away with some really beautiful little stitch markers. I'm trying to untangle them. I haven't used them yet because I've been wanting to show them on the pod as like a whole set. But these are from Time Weaver from Magpie Knits in Charlottesville. And I just think they're really pretty. Do I need more stitch markers? Not really. I have a ton from friends and ones that I've made myself, but I figured, you know, maybe I do need these. They're a good souvenir, right? Like yarn you can buy and you knit up into something, and that's fun and cool and nice, but stitch markers are forever. So these are what I came away with as far as notions from Magpie Knits. I also had to come home with a skein of their like shop yarn. So this is the Tidings base in the color Pigeon. And this is a worsted weight base. I'm going to probably make a hat because what else do I knit these days? But it's a really, really nice heathered gray. And then it has specks of yellow and brown, and there's some blue in there. Some like orangey red. There's the label. And I'm really, really excited to see how this knits up with all of the different speckles. This yarn is, what is this? 100% extra fine merino wool that has been eco-treated. I don't know if that means it's superwash or if that's like a nice way to say superwash without saying superwash. It says hand or machine wash, air dry flat. Maybe superwash, maybe not. But very soft, very squishy. And I'm really excited to see how this knits up. I think it'll be a nice hat. Do I need to make more hats? No, absolutely not. But I can't stop. I just keep casting on hats. Okay, and then I also bought 2 skeins of sock yarn. And these are commercial sock yarns, but they're from a brand I've never tried before, and they were 50% off. So this is Adriafil Calza socks or Calza socks. I don't know if the sock and the label is supposed to be a letter. I don't know. But it is 75/25 superwash merino and nylon. What color is this? 164. I'm going to sneeze. That's going to stay in there because I don't care to edit that out. Yes, Calza socks. It was in a different spot. But I thought this would be fun to try a new sock yarn base. I have decided in the new year I am going to not buy any more sock yarn unless it is commercially produced and I have an intended recipient in mind. So these are going to be socks for our roommate Tim. I knit him socks earlier this year and he tells me all the time that he loves them. I see him wearing them all the time. So he's gonna get more socks. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about my sock yarn ban. I have so much sock yarn. I have my sock and accessory yarn on a shelf just off camera, and the entire bottom shelf is like overflowing with sock yarn. And that's, you know, it's a beautiful thing to see. You know, I look at all the sock yarn and most of it is hand dyed, and it's like a feel good moment to like look and think of like all these dyers that I've supported. But like also realistically, practically speaking, I don't need that many socks. And I think my sock yarn buying practices have gotten to be a little excessive, a little overwhelming. So we're gonna dial it back a little. We are going to use our beautiful stash. We are only going to buy commercial sock yarn for non-knitters because I'm not giving my roommate a pair of socks that he has to hand wash. We're not doing that. But I've got some really beautiful things over there that deserve to be made into beautiful socks. And I'm excited to focus on that in the new year. I'm excited to use my stash more because I have things that should be used, right? Yeah, I don't know where this ramble came from, but long story short, I need to stop buying yarn. Specifically, I need to stop buying single skeins of sock yarn. I also have several garment quantities that all have plans, but realistically, I don't need to keep buying garment quantities either. I think the only yarn that I am going to like allow myself to purchase in the new year for like a while is going to be like accessory yarn, because putting myself on a full-blown yarn ban, it's not going to work. I know myself. It's not going to be effective, and then I'm going to feel guilty, and it's just not going to be good. But I think if I say, okay, no more sock yarn, no more garment quantities, but hat yarn is okay. Anyway, green, I'm assuming self-patterning sock yarn for Tim. That's showing up much more blue than it actually is. It's a lot more green. And then because they were 50% off, I got another one. Same brand, same base. This is color 177. And this is very much giving me Easter vibes. With all the pastel purples and pinks and blues, yellows. And these are going to be for my sister-in-law, who has specifically requested that I just keep knitting her socks because she really loves my hand knit socks that I've given her. I think these are just going to be vanilla socks. Yeah, just vanilla socks for some people in my life who I really love. And that's all I got. I need to go take my inhaler because I do not feel well. But, oh, I am planning on doing probably one more video this year with like the holidays coming up. I would like to do a video recapping all of the garments that I knit or finished this year, and just kind of talk through, you know, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, how the yarn is holding up, because that's something I'm always really curious to see. Like, yeah, that yarn that you use is beautiful. What does it look like 6 months from now? So we're gonna do that. I do have to, some of the sweaters that I've knit this year are in need of a good like wash and block. So we're going to do that and then film. So I don't know when that's coming, but it's something that I'm planning and intending to do. So keep an eye out for that, I guess. Tell me what you're working on. Do you have plans for the new year? I'm not really a make 9 person because I am an incredibly impulsive person. But I have garment quantities in my stash that I have plans for, so maybe I could talk about that in a future video if anyone is curious or nosy. Yeah, tell me what you're working on. I love hearing like what other people are spending their time on. It's always kind of inspirational to like look up the patterns and be like, oh, into the queue that one goes. But I'm gonna wrap this up because I can't breathe anymore. All right. Peace out, friends.